This video is a guide to help you fill out the Overt Behaviour Scale, which is a questionnaire used to identify and measure types of behaviour changes, including what they look like, their frequency and severity, and the impact of these behaviours. You might have heard of the term behavioural and psychological symptoms of dementia, or BPSD, but here you will hear us refer to the term challenging behaviours instead. We know this looks like a long questionnaire, but it is quite simple to use, and often you will only need to complete a few sections of the form depending on the behaviours you observe. In this video, we will look at what is the Overt Behaviour Scale, or OBS, how do I use the OBS, understanding the layout, what behaviours to report, rating severity, the frequency and the impact of the behaviours, the order of completing the OBS, how to score behaviours that fit into more than one category, and some commonly asked questions. This video will demonstrate how to complete the OBS using both the paper form and online REDCap form. The Overt Behaviour Scale was initially designed to identify and measure observable challenging behaviours in people following an acquired brain injury to develop a profile of the changes in behaviour they might present. However, it is now used in a wide range of contexts. Using the measure can help identify behaviours that you find challenging, which can then guide decisions about what behaviour support strategies will be most helpful. The scale can also be used to measure the frequency of challenging behaviours and their impact on others. The OBS can be used to measure change in behaviours over time. When completing the scale before the PBS education program, you will be asked to reflect on the behaviours you have observed in the past 3 to 6 months. You will be asked to complete this questionnaire again 3 months after completing the education program and reflect on behaviours you observe in those past 3 months. There are 9 categories of behaviour listed in the OBS: verbal aggression, physical aggression against objects, physical acts against self, physical aggression against other people, inappropriate sexual behaviour, perseveration or repetitive behaviour, wandering or absconding, inappropriate social behaviour, and lack of initiation. So how do you use the OBS? For each of the 9 categories of behaviour, there is a heading, for example, verbal aggression, and relevant subscales. If your family member exhibits no sign of that category of behaviour, mark the no box and move on to the next behaviour. On REDCap, by selecting no, it will skip all the subscales and automatically show the next behaviour for you to rate. If your family member does show this type of behaviour, you need to tick yes, which means you need to then complete the subscales. Here, you indicate more clearly the type of behaviour that occurs, the frequency and the impact. Under each type of behaviour heading, for example, verbal aggression, there is a number of behaviour examples at different severity levels. Each level has realistic examples of the behaviours that correspond to increasing severity of the behaviour. For example, shouting is low severity and threats are more severe. You don't need to focus on the severity number, you can mainly look at the descriptions. For the paper version, tick each of the types of behaviour observed and rate how frequently they occur and the impact that they have. It is possible that you might tick more than one of the severity levels. For example, if your family member makes loud noises and swears. On REDCap, select the most appropriate answer. More questions to rate the frequency and impact may appear depending on the option you choose. What you see on REDCap is exactly the same as the paper version, except it is designed to automatically show the questions you need to fill out or skip. When completing the OBS before the education program, it is designed to reflect your observations over the past 3 to 6 months. 3 months after you complete the education program, we will ask you to do this again and reflect on those past 3 months. In any case, it's important you score the behaviour that is seen rather than what you think is the intention or the cause of the behaviour. For example, if someone has little initiation or needs prompting to do things, score in lack of initiation, even if you think the reason might be due to memory problems rather than their internal drive to do something. For instance, if your loved one doesn't wash the dishes even when you have been prompting them, score this as lack of initiation, even if you think it's likely they have actually forgotten. We are focused on what behaviors you observe, not the potential reasons for the behavior. It is important that you complete the scale for all behaviors you observe, otherwise the scale will not provide good information. Often, people report only the behaviors that appear most striking or cause the most concern, rather than all the behaviors that occur. In terms of rating severity, each category of behavior is divided into multiple levels, and these levels are ordered in increasing severity. Each severity level has examples of behaviors. On the paper form, if your family member presents with any of the behaviors in the examples, tick the levels column for the behavior or behaviors. The severity level is then rated. On REDCap, simply select yes or no for each behavior. The examples in the descriptions are illustrative examples. This means that the behavior you observe does not have to be exactly the same as the ones listed in the OBS, but of a similar flavor or theme. For example, the exclamation "F off" and "leave me alone" is a use of foul language that fits verbal aggression level 3 and should be rated there. It has a similar flavor to the example given, even though it is not exactly the same. Rating frequency should be relatively straightforward. Remember to rate only the behaviors you have observed in the past 3 to 6 months or 3 months after the education program. On the paper form, rate how frequently the behavior occurs using a number from 1 to 5. The definitions are listed on the form itself. 1 means less than once a month, 2, once a month or more, 3, once a week or more, 4, once a day, 5, multiple times each day. On REDCap, simply choose the most appropriate response. Next, rate the impact. Impact means the amount of emotional distress and/or practical disruption that a challenging behavior causes. For example, impact refers to your experience of stress, worry, concern, or fear as a result of the behavior. Impact can also refer to practical difficulties such as needing additional staff to help, changed procedures, dealing with complaints from other people, or having to get additional support such as medication, psychiatrists, police, or behavior intervention. Practical disruptions often translates into additional costs. On the paper form, rate how much this behavior impacts upon yourself and/or other people by using a number from 1 to 5. Again, the definitions are on the form itself. 1 means no impact, 2, minor impact, 3, moderate impact, 4, severe impact, 5, extremely severe impact. On REDCap, simply choose the most appropriate response. Families often overthink when rating impact. This rating is based on your experience of the behavior. It is a subjective measure to give us an understanding of the amount of distress and/or practical disruption this behavior causes. Be careful of assuming that a behavior doesn't impact much and therefore does not need to be recorded. Even if a behavior does not seem to have much impact, the behavior is still relevant. It just means that you would rate impact as a number 1, that is, having no impact. Sometimes your ratings of severity and impact may not always line up, and that's okay. Low severity behaviors, such as interrupting another's conversations, can have a large negative impact, especially in families and when it is very frequent. On the other hand, high severity behaviors, such as punching holes in walls, can have a low impact on you, such as when it occurs in residential care facilities around staff experienced with managing behaviors. It is important to rate behaviors using the categories in the order in which they are presented. Verbal aggression is first, then physical aggression, and so on. This is to avoid confusion and scoring behaviors more than once. Remember, you can only rate a behavior once. You might be wondering how to rate behaviors that fit into more than one category. While most of the subscales can be completed in a straightforward manner, fitting some behaviors to a subscale needs some elaboration, especially when a behavior fits into more than one category. We will share some examples of how to score behaviors that fit into more than one category. For example, a person may punch a wall, drive a wheelchair into a wall, or bang his or her head into the wall. These behaviors could be argued as being physical aggression against objects, which is the wall, or physical acts against self, but it is not scored as both, and this is why. We would consider that if the behavior is causing damage predominantly to an object, then it is physical aggression against objects. For example, punching a hole into the wall. But if the behavior is causing damage primarily to the person, then it is physical acts against self. For example, banging the head into the wall. Keep it simple. Ask yourself, is this behavior harming the person or something else? The perseveration or repetitive subscale does not reflect behaviors that occur regularly as part of a routine, such as going shopping each Monday morning or having a morning coffee as part of a daily routine. Instead, it refers to when a person gets stuck, that is, caught in this loop of action and cannot stop. For example, a person may persistently scratch their head that causes bleeding. This fits descriptions of both physical acts against self and perseveration/repetitive behaviors. In this case, scoring requires some personal judgment. If the repetitive nature of the behavior seems more prominent than the self-harming aspect, it should be scored under perseverative or repetitive behaviors. Many people with dementia have difficulty managing their medication. There is a difference between someone making a mistake with their medication, which could be rated as inappropriate social behavior or danger and risk, and someone who consumes 10 times their prescribed medication. The difference is more apparent if, in the latter case, there are other behaviors suggestive of suicidal intention, such as verbalizing suicidal distress or writing notes of suicide. If there is a clear attempt to self-harm, then rate the behavior physical acts against self, level 4. These behaviors need to be evaluated further. From a suicide perspective, this is beyond the scope of the questionnaire and this instructional video, and we recommend you that you seek appropriate help. What if a behavior can be scored on more than one scale? Remember, complete the scale in order. This helps to avoid double dipping, that is, rating a behavior more than once and placing them under more than one scale. Consider what is more prominent about the behavior. Refer back to the previous examples in this video. What if the behavior to be rated is not specifically mentioned in this scale? Remember, the examples listed may not be exactly what your family member is presenting. If the particular behavior you wish to score is not listed among the examples, but is similar in theme or flavor as the examples, then match it to the most appropriate category and level. Some behaviors do not easily fit into the scale because situations in community settings can be tricky. Use the previous sections of this video and examples presented under the specific behavior headings in these instructions. Very occasionally, we have come across people who harm animals, and we would rate this under physical aggression against people and some written comments about that behavior, such as specifying that it is against animals. Some behaviors do not fit within the scope of the OBS, such as sex with animals and addiction behaviors. They can't be scored, but it would still be important for it to be written down somewhere.